Like I've been summoned to now talk about my theory of the connection between the nine kings, the three wise men, tales of Beelzebub, and the Antichrist. The number three holds a really deep symbolic meaning across many mythological stories, religious and literary traditions, including Christianity and folklore and fantasy literature. So there is actually a fascinating connection between the three brothers of the Deathly Hallows in Harry Potter and the three wise men, biblical magi, and even other trios in mythology. So let's break this down. Let's start with the three brothers and the Deathly Hollows. So, in the tale of the three brothers from the tales of Beetleborg, I had to think about that for a minute. In Harry Potter, the three brothers cheat death and are given gifts. You have the Elder Wand, which is power given to the eldest who seeks dominance but is ultimately unalived. The Resurrection Stone, obsession with the dead, given to the second who is consumed by his grief and then dies. And then the invisibility cloak, wisdom and acceptance of fate, word, which we talked about in the other video, that the youngest uses it wisely to evade death. This legend mirrors other triadic themes in literature where two characters fail due to flaws, but the third succeeds due to wisdom or virtue. Frodo succeeds with destroying the ring. Aragon's successor predecessor, along with Bilbo, all fail to destroy the ring, another triadic theme. Now, the three wise men, or the biblical magi, um, from the Gospel of Matthew, bring gifts to newborn Christ. You have gold, which is kingship, symbolizing Jesus as the rightful king. Frankincense, divinity and priesthood, representing his divine nature. Myrrh, death and sacrifice, a burial spice foreshadowing his own death. Now, like the Deathly Hollows, these gifts represent different aspects of power, fate, and mortality. And I don't know how many people ever actually picked up on that. Now, when we talk about the rule of three in mythology and religion, the power of three, charmed, appears frequently in history and storytelling. So, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, a key Christian concept. You have the three fates in Greek mythology who control human destiny, and then the three Norns in Norse mythology who weave the fate of the world, and then the three brothers in fairy tales. Often the youngest succeeds after the first two fail. And you may be thinking, but Nicole, you just mentioned the Antichrist. Okay, yes, there is a possible connection between the Nazgul and the Antichrist, because, like I said, Tolkien studied a whole lot. Now, while there's not a direct parallel between the three legendary objects, the Hollows, the Wise Men, and even the temptations of Christ in Matthew 4 1 through 11, Matthew 4 1 through 11, there can be compared to the three evils that corrupt men in Tolkien's world. Power, you have the Elder Wand, Sauron's rings, and the Antichrist, kingship, which I'll get into in a minute. The desire for immortality, Resurrection Stone, the failure of the ring race, and the false prophet, and then wisdom and fate. You have invisibility, Gandalf's wisdom, and Christ's sacrifice, all representing these three corruptions in their own literary way. So the first rule of the Antichrist is to mock anything holy in its own bastardized fashion. So the nine kings who became the Nazgul and Lord of the Rings, and the 10 kings who served the Antichrist in biblical prophecy, while the numbers don't perfectly align, the themes of corruption, enslavement, and the loss of free will are strikingly similar. Now, in the book of Revelation, specifically chapter 17, verses 12 and 13, 10 kings receive power for a short time and give their authority to the beast, who is often interpreted as the Antichrist. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour within the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." These kings rule under the authority of the beast or the Antichrist, much like the Nazgul serve Sauron. They lose their autonomy, ultimately becoming enslaved to evil. Usher in chaos and destruction, similar to how the ring race spread fear across Middle Earth. Now, I know you're like, Nicole, this is a huge stretch. Of course it is, but I'm still going to talk about it. So, the symbolism of numbers 9 versus 10. In biblical numerology, 9 is often associated with judgment and finality, which fits the Nazgul's doomed fate. 10 in biblical prophecy represents earthly governance, fitting the Antichrist kings. Tolkien may have used 9 to emphasize their fallen, cursed nature, whereas Revelation's 10 kings symbolize an entire world being taken over. And I know, yes, the similarity between all of these stories together, Nine Kings serving Sauron, Antichrist prophesied rulers, suggests that Tolkien may have been drawing on these biblical ideas subconsciously, as both groups start as rulers but become puppets of evil, ultimately leading to their destruction. But Tolkien has always stated that he never really meant for this to be a biblical allegory, but you can't help noticing the differences. And do I think J.K. Rowling knew exactly what she was doing with the Tales of Beedle Bard? Hell no. Hell no. But when you're drawing comparisons of the numbers, numerology, sometimes it can't help but stick out to you. And as a side note, if you do any form of divination, things like that, bibliomancy is a thing where you take something that you read and you can divine an answer for it as well. Um, so again, while it may not be intentional, these connections can be made subconsciously if you just take a minute and look and read and see a little bit deeper. I mean, it's not Finnegan's Wake, Lord of the Rings. It's a little bit easier to understand. But either way, I want to thank you for this because you have just allowed me to nerd out for a few minutes, and I absolutely enjoy that. If you're still here at the end of this 7-minute video, let me introduce you to my book themed coffee candles that are available on my website. Y'all, I'm trying to get this money together so my daughter can go to her Broadway camp this summer. So, yes, check them out. I have multiple kinds on my website, and I would appreciate it if y'all could just head over there and buy them. Put a lot of hard work into these, and yeah, talk to you guys later. Bye.